Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with the Spain News Update. And Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez addressed the Senate yesterday and said that there are tough times ahead for Spain, but again reassured the Spanish population that there will not be energy problems this coming winter. But more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel through the new Super Chat option. Many thanks for that. And thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your ongoing support. Now, let's get into the news. And as I said, Prime Minister Sánchez spoke yesterday and warned that there are tough times ahead for the country. As we can read here, Sánchez acknowledges difficulties but assures that there will be no blackouts. The Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez acknowledged this afternoon that the coming months are not going to be easy, but that drastic measures will not be adopted and that no Spanish household will lack energy to heat, to light and to cook this winter. There will be no blackouts, no reasoning or any of those apocalyptic scenes predicted by the creators of hoaxes, emphasized the Prime Minister during his appearance at his own request in the Senate. Sánchez highlighted the government's response during the pandemic and the measures that it made possible to overcome it, particularly those of an economic nature, such as the 30 billion euros in aid to the private sector. So the Prime Minister, recognizing that the months ahead are going to be tough, but has guaranteed that there will be no blackouts in Spain. And as we also saw there, no person in Spain will have trouble this winter to heat their home, to light their home, or to cook. So a relief for many people here in Spain, no doubt. Now, the European Union's High Representative for Foreign Affairs, Spaniard Josep Borrell, has again put his foot in his mouth and has sparked a storm for describing Europe as a garden surrounded by a jungle. Arab countries, Russia and Iran, have taken umbrage at remarks by Josep Borrell, the EU's High Representative for Foreign Policy, in which he described Europe as a garden and the rest of the world as a jungle. First, Moscow lashed out at him, then leading Arab columnists criticised him in the press, and on Monday night the United Arab Emirates branded his latest speech racist, inappropriate and discriminatory. The UAE's Deputy Assistant Minister for Political Affairs, Reem Khattate, and the Director of Foreign Affairs summoned the acting head of the mission of the EU Embassy in Abu Dhabi, Emil Hofer-Paulsen, on Monday to express their rejection of these statements that contribute to worsening the climate of intolerance and discrimination around the world. So there we go. According to Mr. Borrell, Europe is a garden surrounded by a jungle. And no wonder the rest of the world is peeved with those remarks. Now, the 20-cent rebate that we have on fuel here in Spain, every time you fill up at the petrol station, you get a 20-cent discount on your bill, looks like it's coming to an end. As we can read here, the most expensive measure, extending the fuel subsidy, would cost 6.7 billion euros. Of all the measures to support consumers and businesses in the face of the energy crisis, the 20-cent fuel rebate in force since the 1st of April is by far the most expensive of all. This year, it will cost 4.5 billion euros, and if it is extended, as it stands in 2023, it will amount to 6.7 billion euros. The calculations are from the Independent Fiscal Authority because the government has not provided details of this expenditure, even if it decides to extend the measure next year. The government has said that it intends to focus this aid only on the sectors most affected. Meanwhile, fuel prices have started to rise again. Diesel is over €2 per litre at many service stations. So the fuel rebate here in Spain, as we saw, looks to have its days numbered. And again, the amount of money that this rebate has cost the Spanish taxpayer, estimated there by an independent fiscal authority, because the government here in Spain has not released data. Again, the problem of transparency rears its ugly head. Now, if you're living here in Spain, there's a fairly high chance that you know somebody that has the flu at the moment or has recently had the flu, because the flu has become epidemic in Spain 3 months earlier than normal. New year, new spike in flu cases. That is the norm. Scientists say, colloquially, that the flu is the gift of the three kings in Spain, as it is usually in January when the virus exceeds the epidemic threshold, 50 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. However, this year it has arrived earlier, or perhaps it has not gone at all, as Jose Maria Airos, a specialist in microbiology, told Antena 3 Noticias. In spring, when the flu usually goes away, we had it. In the summer, it started up again, which is completely abnormal. Since then, the figures have been growing at a meteoric rate until at the end of September, they exceeded the epidemic threshold. The latest figures puts us at 68.4 cases per 100,000 100,000 inhabitants, 1 percentage point higher than last week when we were at 67.4 cases per 100,000. So it looks as though it's going to be a bad flu season this winter here in Spain. And as we saw, experts surprised that the flu was so prominent during the spring and the summer. Now, the most spectacular building, in my opinion, in the northern Spanish city of Bilbao, the Guggenheim Museum, is having its 25th anniversary this year. And as we can see here, 25 years of the Guggenheim, a museum to enter the new millennium. Bilbao took a gamble on its transformation and won. The Guggenheim Museum is the true symbol of the city, its most recognizable emblem, and a tourist attraction for a city that had just dismantled its metallurgical and shipping industry on the banks of the Nervion River. 25 years and dozens of contemporary art exhibitions have passed. The Guggenheim celebrates its anniversary by highlighting its own collection and celebrating its good visitor figures. Even its father, the architect Frank Gehry, is strolling around Bilbao to celebrate the birthday. So the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, 25 years old, and what a transformation that city has gone through. I visited Bilbao a few years ago now, and I was absolutely blown away by the city. In fact, Bilbao is easily in my top 5 cities here in Spain, and if you haven't visited Bilbao yet, do yourself a favour. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from Jose, re farmers and middlemen. I believe that Consume works on a cooperative basis, sourcing local produce where possible. Super U in France operates in the same way. They are both far better than the privately owned supermarket chains, in my opinion. I think that's the way forward. It's a shame that Consume doesn't yet have the same national coverage as Super U. Yeah, Jose, thanks for the comment, and obviously related to an article that we saw last week about how some farmers in Valencia, I think it was, have decided to avoid middlemen and go direct to the consumer. And I think it would be a win-win situation for all if more producers decided to go down this path. And the supermarket that you mentioned in your comment, Consume, I haven't seen them here in Spain. They might exist in some parts of the country, but in my local area here, in fact the whole of the Madrid community, I have not seen one single Consume supermarket, so I don't know exactly where they are. So you're right, Jose, that it is a shame that Consume does not have national coverage. One here from Chrissy, Salah in Spain, our feria this weekend. Last night at 8 PM, 2 men shot each other. One dead, one in hospital. Shut down feria and again today. So sad. Yeah, Chrissy, thanks for the comment, and unfortunately this type of violence seems to be becoming more and more common at local town parties and ferias, as they call them here in Spain. We saw how in Barcelona a few weeks ago, local town parties got out of control. I think one person was stabbed to death there in Barcelona, and various town festivals around Spain have been marred by violent events in recent times. And as we saw in your comment there, Chrissy, gun violence creeping into your local festivals in Salah in Granada, which I've just looked up on the internet, and it only has a population of 2,600 people. So what's going on? I always thought that it was difficult to get your hands on a gun here in Spain, but it seems that is not the case. One here from David, that explains why I have to pay for petrol before actually putting it in my car. Can't blame the petrol station owners, but it lowers their profits if scumbags steal petrol. Yeah, David, thanks for the comment, and obviously in reference to something that we saw in yesterday's live stream about how a restaurant in Cádiz was the victim of a simpa, where people went into the restaurant, ate their food, but left without paying the bill. Sin pagar, simpa in Spanish. And unfortunately, it doesn't just happen in restaurants, it happens in petrol stations, as you point out there in your comment, which means that you have to pay a lot of the times before you fill up. So scumbags at restaurants, scumbags at petrol stations, unfortunately, scumbags everywhere. One here from Ed, we know Singapore solved its graffiti problem the hard way. In Portugal, there had long been graffiti made of simple slogans like FUP Otelo, a radical from 1975, or Greve Geral, Huelga General, general strike. But now Lisbon is ruined by endless graffiti, and they have the nerve to charge tourist tax. Yeah, thanks for the comment, and this is also something that popped up in yesterday's live stream, the problem of graffiti in cities like Madrid, also in Lisbon, as you say there, graffiti everywhere. Here in Madrid, it is a real problem. There's not a single government infrastructure that is not covered in ugly graffiti. I say ugly graffiti because it's not pretty graffiti. It's things like tags and slogans and things like that. And as I said, every bridge, every wall in the Madrid community is covered with this type of graffiti. Do the authorities here clean the graffiti? The answer is no, because they're just wasting their time, because as soon as they clean it, the graffiti is back up the next day. Should the authorities be tougher on the people that put the graffiti there in the first place? In my opinion, yes. Do we need to go down the Singapore path and bring in Singapore-style punishments for graffiti artists? I don't know. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Good idea or bad idea, Singapore-style punishments for graffiti artists? One here from Patricia: we have mayors in jail for pocketing EU funds here in the Canaries. Yeah, Patricia, thanks for the comment, but unfortunately there are mayors in prison or mayors that have been to prison all over Spain for misuse of European funds in the past. And the reason? There was no transparency or accountability in the past when it came to these European Union funds. So let's hope that we don't make the same mistakes, that there is more transparency and accountability with the current lot of European aid money. But time will tell if that is the case or not. One here from Paul B: public services are going to be a massive issue this decade. High inflation, an aging population, boomers retiring. Spain will need a lot of immigration and will have to compete with other countries. Spain needs to focus on energy, energy, energy. This will solve many problems in the future. Yeah, Paul, thanks for the comment, and you're right. Renewable energies will be the key to Spain's success going forward, because all of the issues that you mentioned in your comment there are going to put serious stress on governments in this country, and it's going to cost an absolute fortune to maintain the public services that we currently enjoy. Spain is a country that carries an enormous debt, and things are not looking good for the future unless that debt can be reduced. And how are they going to do that? I've got absolutely no idea. On that note, I'll wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.